What if I told you there's an ancient map that describes not just the entire universe, but also every single corner of your own consciousness? A map that explains how thought becomes matter, how love is balanced by strict judgment, and where exactly you fit into this entire grand design. Sounds like science fiction, right? Well, it's not. This map is real, and its name is the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. Today, we are embarking on an incredible journey to decode this mystical symbol. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you won't just know about the Ten Sephiroth. You will begin to see the world, other people, and most importantly, yourself, through the lens of this astonishingly profound system. Are you ready to lift the veil of reality? Before we begin our ascent up the tree, let's establish where this symbol actually comes from. The Tree of Life is the central glyph of Kabbalah, an ancient esoteric tradition. It's important to understand this. We won't be focusing on the traditional religious Jewish Kabbalah as much as the Hermetic or Western school. This school has integrated elements from many traditions, including tarot, astrology, and alchemy. For our purposes, the Tree of Life isn't an object of worship. It's a universal model, a blueprint. Picture the most complex scientific theory, expressed not in equations, but in one single diagram. This diagram illustrates the path of divine energy as it emanates downward, condensing layer after layer until it finally manifests our physical world. But even more critically, it shows the reverse path, the way consciousness returns to its source. This ultimately is the map of our spiritual journey. And so our journey begins, not by climbing up, but by descending down, mirroring the very process of creation itself. The starting point, the highest and most elusive aspect of the tree, is sephirah number 1, Kether, which translates simply as the crown. Imagine the state prior to the Big Bang, an absolute nothingness that simultaneously holds the potential for absolutely everything. This is pure existence, unified, indivisible, and utterly incomprehensible to the human mind. Kether is the primordial source from which all things emanated, and to which all things will ultimately return. It holds neither form, nor time, nor space. It is the point of singularity, the seed from which the entire universe will eventually bloom. On the Tree of Life, Kether is depicted as a brilliant, shimmering point of light hovering just above the highest vertex. The visualization here is a blinding pinprick of light within infinite void, a spark that barely pulsates, yet is ready to explode into creation at any moment. To attempt to grasp Kether with the intellect is like trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. It cannot be understood, it can only be felt, as the palpable presence of pure, boundless potential. Out of the unity of Kether emerges the first polarity, the very first movement. This is sephirah number 2, Chokmah, or wisdom. If Kether is the point, then Chokmah is the line that springs forth from that point. It represents the initial, unstoppable, and dynamic impulse of creation. Imagine pure, untamed energy, the primal cause of everything that exists. This is the active, masculine principle. In the context of the Big Bang, Chokmah is the explosion itself, the initial flash that triggers all processes in the universe. This energy is so powerful and chaotic that, on its own, it cannot create anything stable. It can only expand limitlessly. It is the pure will toward manifestation, yet to take on any definitive form. Mythologically, Chokmah is often associated with the archetype of the Divine Father. For a visualization, picture a dazzling beam of light, or a bolt of lightning, bursting forth from the luminous point of Kether, streaking into the void. This is pure, raw force, desperately needing a vessel to contain it and prevent it from dissolving into nothingness. So, where exactly does this unstoppable energy of Chokmah head next? It encounters sephirah number 3, Binah, which translates to understanding. Binah is the great vessel, receiving and giving structure to the fiery impulse of Chokmah. If Chokmah represents the active masculine principle, then Binah is the passive feminine counterpart. She is the great mother, the one who gives form to the formless. It is Binah that creates the first structure, the first laws, and the first limitations. She is the very womb in which the universe is nurtured and conceived. Without Binah, the energy of Choshmah would remain nothing but meaningless chaos. She introduces the concepts of time, space, and causality. This might seem paradoxical, but restriction itself is what gives birth to manifestation. Think about it. To paint a picture, you need a canvas, which immediately restricts your space. To write music, you need notes and rhythm, which structure and limit the sound. Binah is that essential canvas and that fundamental structure. Picture a dark, bottomless sphere absorbing the blinding flash of Choshmah, and within that sphere, the very first patterns and structures of the future cosmos begin to take shape. Having established the first triad, Kether, Chokhmah, and Binah, which is known as the divine triad, we now descend to the next level of reality. Here we encounter the fourth sephirah, Chesed, often translated as grace or loving kindness. Chesed represents the principle of pure, unconditional expansion and giving. Picture the image of a benevolent and generous king who showers his subjects with gifts, requiring nothing in return. This is the energy of growth, abundance, optimism, and mercy. Chesed desires that everything live, grow, and flourish. It is the foundational force that causes a seed to sprout and a cell to divide. It knows no boundaries or limitations. In our everyday lives, Chesed manifests as generosity, kindness, and the essential ability to forgive and accept others. However, like any pure force, Chesed can become destructive. Uncontrolled growth is, by definition, a cancerous tumour. Boundless generosity can lead to exhaustion or depletion. Therefore, for balance, it requires an opposing force. For a visualization, imagine a mighty river, completely overflowing its banks, attempting to flood and nourish everything in its path. Now, we approach the force that perfectly balances the boundless loving kindness of Chesed. This is the fifth sephirah, Gevurah, often translated as severity or strength. If Chesed is expansion, Gevurah is contraction. If Chesed is the ultimate yes, Gevurah is the necessary no. It's crucial here to dispel a popular misconception. Gevurah is not evil. It is, in fact, an absolutely essential force for existence itself. It represents the principle of discernment, judgment, discipline, and the establishment of boundaries. Gevurah is the one that tells the river of Chesed, "These are your banks. You can flow no further." It cuts away everything superfluous, the unnecessary, the outdated, the things that have outlived their purpose. Picture a surgeon removing diseased tissue to save the entire body. That is the essence of Gevurah's action. In our daily lives, it manifests as willpower, self-discipline, the ability to say no, and critical thinking. Without Gevurah, we would drown in chaos and endless self-indulgence. Visually, Gevurah can be imagined as a mighty warrior in red armour, wielding a flaming sword. He stands guard over order and justice, cutting away anything that threatens to disrupt harmony. Between the boundless love of Chesed and the strict power of Gevurah lies the very heart of the entire Tree of Life. This is the sixth sephirah, Tiferet, meaning beauty or harmony. It is the point of perfect equilibrium. Tiferet receives and synthesizes the energies of all the Sephiroth above it. It acts like the sun, illuminating the entire system and giving it life. If Chesed represents the benevolent king and Gevurah the strict warrior, Tiferet is the wise and compassionate sovereign. It is the one who knows precisely when to offer mercy and when to apply severity. This is the center of our consciousness, our higher self, the direct point of contact with the divine. It is within Tiferet that we achieve the awareness of our true nature and our ultimate mission. This state embodies wholeness, healing, and selfless, sacrificial love. In the Christian tradition, this level of consciousness is often associated with the Christ consciousness. Visually, Tiferet is depicted as a radiant golden sun at the center of the tree, harmonizing all opposing forces and emitting the light of truth and beauty. To achieve the state of Tiferet is to find deep harmony within yourself and with the entire world. Moving down from the centre of harmony, Tifereth, we arrive at the next triad, the one that governs the personality and all its expressions. Sephirah, number 7, is Netzach, which translates literally to victory, or sometimes eternity. Netzach is the domain of pure emotion, deep feeling, raw instinct, and unbridled desire. It is the untamed, primal, intuitive power that resides deep within. Imagine a wild, impenetrable forest, or the fury of a raging ocean. That imagery captures the energy of Netzach perfectly. It's intimately connected to art, music, and dance, anything that flows purely from the heart rather than the intellect. This represents our pure right brain activity. Netzach is the passion that fuels the artist, the inspiration guiding the poet, and the fierce rage of the berserker. It embodies the energy of love and hatred in their most raw, animalistic forms. It contains zero logic, only pure, unadulterated feeling. Without Netzach, life would be flat and grey, completely stripped of colour and passion. Yet if left completely unchecked, this powerful force can easily spiral into chaos and destruction. To visualise Netzach, picture a beautiful but wild dancer, whirling in an ecstatic frenzy, or the spectacular riot of the natural elements themselves. If Netzach is the realm of emotion and feeling, its complementary opposite is the 8th sephirah, Hod, which translates to glory or splendour. Hod represents the sphere of pure intellect, logic, reason, and communication. It embodies our classic left brain activity. If Netzach is the artist, Hod is the scientist. If Netzach is the wild forest, Hod is the meticulously organised library or the perfectly planned city. This is where theories, concepts, languages, systems, and technologies are born. It represents the crucial ability to analyse, classify, name things precisely, and effectively transmit information. Without Hod, the emotions and instincts of Netzach would remain unexpressed chaos. It is Hod that gives them structure, translating them into words, symbols, and precise formulas. However, taken to an extreme, Hod can lead to excessive rationalization, intellectual dryness, and a total detachment from feeling and reality. This is the mind that has become trapped within its own constructs and concepts. Visually, Hod can be envisioned as a meticulous scientist in the laboratory, surrounded by complex instruments and vast libraries, or as an intricate network of luminous informational currents. So, we have Netzach, representing emotion, and Hod, representing intellect. What force brings them together and synthesizes these two energies? That role is assigned to the 9th Sephiroth, Yesod, whose name translates simply as the foundation. Yesod serves as the foundation of our personality, but understand that this is not solid, physical ground. Instead, it is the astral plane, the realm of dreams, imagination, and the subconscious mind. Imagine Yesod as a great, reflective mirror, catching and blending the energies flowing down from all the Sephiroth above it. This is precisely where the intellect of Hod meets the emotion of Netzach, giving birth to images, symbols, and archetypes. Yesod is the dream factory, the archive of our memories, complexes, and repressed desires. It is also considered the etheric double of our physical body, the energetic matrix or blueprint upon which the physical form is constructed. Everything that is destined to manifest in the physical world must first be formed on the plane of Yesod. This is why practices involving imagination, dreams, and the subconscious are so fundamentally important. Visually, Yesod is perfectly represented by the image of the moon. It does not shine with its own light, but rather reflects the light of the sun, Tifereth, and in doing so, controls the tides and ebbs of our own inner ocean. And now, we finally complete our descent down the tree. After passing through all 9 stages of transformation, the energy reaches its ultimate destination. This is sephirah number 10, Malkuth, the kingdom. This is our physical, material world. Everything we can touch, see, hear, and feel. It is the culmination of the entire creation process. Malkuth is often called the bride or the daughter, because it receives the influence of all the other Sephiroth, and gives birth to manifested reality. But it is crucial to understand that Malkuth is not a bad or lower place. It is the stage upon which the entire drama of life unfolds. It is the place where spirit gains experience through matter. Malkuth has no light of its own. Like Yesod, it is a receiver. But where Yesod is the world of images, Malkuth is the world of forms. And it is precisely from this point, the densest spot, that the return journey begins. The path of ascent, the path of realization, and the return to the source. The visual image for Malkuth is our planet Earth in all its diversity and beauty. We've explored the 10 Sephiroth, but hold on, is that the whole story? Yes, situated between the divine triad, Kether, Chokhmah, and Binah, and the ethical triad, Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet, lies something that isn't a sephirah in the conventional sense. This is Da'at, which translates as knowledge. Da'at is the invisible hidden sephirah. It is often referred to simply as the abyss. It is not a place, but rather a state of consciousness, a point where all opposites merge and the division between the self and the not-self dissolves. Da'at represents knowledge gained through direct experience rather than intellect alone. It is the result of the harmonious union of Chokhmah and Binah. To cross the abyss of Da'at is one of the most demanding tasks on the spiritual path. It means completely shedding the ego, abandoning all concepts and beliefs, and surrendering entirely to the flow of existence. For many, this process is experienced as a spiritual death preceding a profound rebirth. Da'at serves as the essential bridge between the divine and the created worlds. Visually, you might imagine it as a vortex or a portal, sucking in all forms and meanings, leaving behind only pure awareness. Now that we're acquainted with all the Sephiroth, let's take a step back and examine the structure of the tree as a whole. As you may have noticed, the Sephiroth aren't arranged randomly. They form 3 distinct vertical columns, or pillars. The right-hand pillar, which includes Chokhmah, Chesed, and Netzach, is known as the pillar of mercy. This represents the active, masculine, expansive principle. The energy here flows freely. It gives, expands, and generates. It is the very definition of force without form. Think of it as the accelerator pedal of the universe. It always says, yes, perpetually striving for more. Individuals dominated by this pillar's energy are typically optimistic, generous, and enthusiastic. However, they can also be impulsive, impractical, and lack essential discipline. They start projects easily but struggle to finish them because they lack structure. Visually, this pillar can be imagined as a brilliant white column, saturated with light and raw energy, perpetually streaming outward. Opposite the pillar of mercy stands the left pillar. It encompasses the Sephiroth Binah, Gevurah, and Hod, and is aptly named the pillar of severity or judgment. This represents the passive, feminine, restrictive, and defining principle. The energy here accepts, limits, and structures. It is pure form without raw force. If the right pillar acts as the accelerator, the left pillar serves as both the brakes and the steering wheel. It is the voice that says, no, setting boundaries and establishing laws. It's crucial to dispel a common misconception. Severity does not equate to evil. Without this pillar, the universe would simply be a chaotic explosion of unbound energy. It is the very principle that allows creation to exist in a structured way. Individuals primarily channeling the energy of this pillar are typically rational, disciplined, and capable of deep analysis. However, they can be overly critical, pessimistic, emotionally cold, and overly restrictive. They often lack vital force and spontaneous drive. Visually, this pillar can be imagined as a stark, black column, one that absorbs light and imposes clear definition on everything it touches. The truth, as always, is found in the middle path. The middle pillar runs directly between the pillar of mercy and the pillar of severity. This column is comprised of the Sephiroth Kether, Tifereth, Yesod, and Malkuth, with Da'at sometimes being included. It is known as the pillar of equilibrium and consciousness. It represents the path of harmony, integrating and balancing the extremes of the right and left pillars. It serves as the very spine of the Tree of Life and is considered the direct route for spiritual ascent. To travel the middle pillar means avoiding the extremes of unrestrained expansion or rigid limitation, instead striving to find the perfect equilibrium between them. This is the path of mindfulness and awareness. Rather than simply reacting to immediate impulses, the right pillar, or becoming trapped by fixed concepts, the left pillar, you learn to act directly from the core of your true essence, sephirah. Ultimately, this is the way to achieve complete integrity and wholeness. Visually, the middle pillar is often conceived as a golden or iridescent column. It stands as the central axis of all creation, connecting the highest divine spark with the lowest material plane, uniting spirit with matter. The structure of the tree deepens significantly when we realize it describes not just one world, but 4 distinct realms existing simultaneously and interpenetrating one another. The highest, most subtle world closest to the source is Atzilut, the world of archetypes or emanations. This realm corresponds to the first 3 Sephiroth, Kether, Chokmah, and Binah, although some systems associate it solely with Kether, the crown. It is the plane of pure ideas, of divine blueprint, where everything exists as pure potentiality. Think of it as a brilliant concept in the artist's mind that hasn't even been sketched out yet. Here, there are no fixed forms, only pure, fiery impulses of will. The element associated with this world is fire. Imagine the entire Tree of Life composed of pure, intensely bright divine flame. That is the world of Atzilut, the realm where the self and the divine are one. Dropping one level of density, we enter the realm of Briah, the world of creation. This realm corresponds to the next 3 Sephiroth, Chesed, Gevurah, and Tiferet. Here, the archetypal ideas conceived in Atzilut begin to take their first subtlest form. Briah is the domain of the great archangels, pure intellect, and universal laws. If Atzilut is the artist's initial spark of an idea, Briah is the first rough draft or sketch, where the general composition and intention become visible. It is in this world that the singular will begins to differentiate into specific creative principles. The element associated with this realm is air. Picture the Tree of Life woven entirely from clouds, light, transparent, and purely intellectual. This is the birthplace of grand concepts, where the universal laws of physics and metaphysics are formulated. A realm of pure understanding, devoid of emotional colouring. Continuing our journey inward, we now enter the world of Yetzirah, the world of formation. This world corresponds to the Sephiroth of Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. It is here that the abstract concepts from the world of Bria begin to take on life, filling with emotions and images. This is the astral plane, the realm of the angelic hierarchy, and the domain of our senses and imagination. If Briah was merely the blueprint or the sketch, then Yetzirah is the painting itself, vibrant and rich with colour, though not yet fixed within a physical frame. It is the world of forms that have not yet materialized into the physical realm. This is where our dreams, fears, hopes, and deepest desires reside. The corresponding element is water, which perfectly reflects its fluid, changeable, and deeply emotional nature. Imagine the Tree of Life composed entirely of shimmering, flowing streams where forms constantly shift and melt into one another. Ultimately, this is the world of the soul, the realm of subjective experience and inner life. Finally, the densest and most materialized of the 4 worlds is Asya, the world of action, or the material world. It corresponds entirely to a single Sephiroth, Malkuth. This is where everything that has passed through the previous 3 worlds takes on its final, physical embodiment. The image conceived in the world of Yetzirah is finally placed into a frame and hung on the wall. This is the world we perceive with our 5 senses. It is the realm where ideas and feelings solidify into concrete actions and physical objects. The element corresponding to this world is earth. Imagine the Tree of Life itself, carved entirely from stone or grown up from the earth. durable, stable, and fundamentally material. It is crucial to understand that all four worlds exist simultaneously. Right now, as you read this, you operate within the world of Ashya, your physical body, experience emotions in the world of Yetzirah, process concepts in the world of Briah, and remain connected to the divine spark in the world of Atzilut. We have explored the Sephiroth, the pillars, and the worlds. But what connects all these elements together? The answer lies in the 22 lines, or paths, that link the Sephiroth to one another. Each of these paths corresponds directly to one of the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet and one of the major arcana of the tarot. This alone is an entire separate universe of study. These paths are not merely lines on a diagram, they are dynamic channels through which divine energy flows, and, more importantly for our purposes, they represent stages of psychological and spiritual transformation. Moving from one sephirah to the next is not an instant jump, but a deliberate process, a personal work symbolized by the corresponding path. For instance, the path from Malkuth, the physical world, to Yesod, the subconscious mind, corresponds to the tarot arcanum, the world, symbolizing the completion of one cycle and the beginning of a new, internal one. Conversely, the paths leading from Tifereth, the higher self, up to Kether, the source, represent the most challenging and elevated stages of transformation. The actual practice of path working is a meditative journey along these routes, designed specifically to integrate the deep, spiritual and psychological lessons they hold. So, why should we care about all this? How can we apply this complex, abstract framework to our actual lives? The Tree of Life is first and foremost a diagnostic tool. You can overlay this map onto any situation or your own personality and immediately see where the imbalances lie. For instance, do you have tons of ideas and enthusiasm, netzach, but never follow through on anything? You're probably lacking the structure and discipline of Hod. Are you overly strict with yourself and others, constantly judging and criticizing, gevurah? Perhaps you need to cultivate the mercy and acceptance of Chesed. The Tree of Life can also be used as a foundation for meditation. By visualizing yourself within a specific sephirah, you can attune yourself to its energy and qualities, allowing you to integrate them into your daily life. You can also ascend or climb the tree, sequentially moving through each sephirah, a powerful practice for deep self-knowledge and spiritual evolution. This is not just an ancient symbol. It is a living, working system for the transformation of consciousness. Well, we have completed an incredible journey. We travelled the path from the singular, unknowable source in Kether, through the birth of polarities, the balance of love and severity, and the realms of emotion and intellect, all the way down to our dense, physical world in Malkuth. We've seen that the Tree of Life is much more than just a beautiful diagram. It's a fractal map of reality that describes everything, from the creation of galaxies to the simple act of brewing a cup of tea. It is the universal language through which the universe speaks about itself. But here is the most important twist. This map doesn't describe something external. It describes you. Every sephirah, every path, is an aspect of your own consciousness. By understanding the Tree of Life, you come to understand yourself. It is a mirror reflecting your soul in all its complexity and grandeur. Thank you for walking this path with me. If this video revealed something new or gave you food for thought, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so we can continue our explorations together. Now I have a question for you. Which sephirah resonated with you the most right now? In which of these energies did you recognize yourself or your current life situation? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely interested to hear.